We are all battling that voice in our head that tells us we will never be free to live the life that we actually want to live. But those people that are changing, that are living the life that they want to live, how are they doing it? In this video, I'm going to share 5 actionable steps that you can actually use to change your life in 30 days. And there's a little hint, courage is going to be needed for all of them. Number 1, decision. This sounds rudimentary, but hear me out. There are 2 types of decisions. Intentional, default. So most of us are making default decisions because it aligns with who we think we are and the thing that we've always done. So it feels like life is just kind of happening to us and we're just turning up for it. Intentional decisions are when we are sick of our own bullshit and we decide that there has to be something better. It's a vulnerable act when you finally decide that you're unhappy with your present life and that perhaps you deserve something more. You cannot exist in 2 outcomes at the same time. You have to choose one. So it's either plan A, which is the decision that you've made, or it's plan B, which is non-committal, I'll think about it, we'll see how it goes. You can only exist in either one or the other. You cannot exist in both at the same time. So you have to make the decision to change and you have to choose that decision over and over again until it becomes a part of who you are. Number 2, vision. Your mind is always focused on something. So if you're not conducting where you want your mind to be focused, it will focus on what it's always focused on. That's just its default state. It's the information that it already has. So you will find that what you consistently focus on is what you end up experiencing in your reality. And the fact of the matter is that most people don't know what they want. And that's okay, because I think as a society, we have learnt that wanting something better for ourselves or going for something better for ourselves in our lives is somehow sinful or conceited, because we should be grateful and happy for what we already have. And there is another dangerous belief that has permeated society that says anything good will eventually always be taken away from us. So actually being too happy and having too much of what you want is dangerous. So it's easier then to not take up our space and go for the things that we want than it is to prepare for the inevitable disaster of losing the thing that we attained. So I do understand that figuring out what your vision is can be challenging. I'm not going to sit here and say, just know what you want and go for it. Sometimes it's just not that simple. So what I do find is a useful way to be able to get around this is to figure out the things that you don't want. And I think those things will come to you very quickly. Eliminate those. And usually what you're left with are the things that you secretly want, but maybe wouldn't share it with anybody else. Maybe wouldn't even share it with yourself because they're scary and it makes you feel vulnerable and uncomfortable, but it's what you really want. 9 times out of 10, what you've distilled as what could potentially be your vision, you will judge against your current circumstance. You will judge it and say, oh no, that's not realistic. I can't do that. Look at where I am now. That seems impossible. And you'll talk yourself out of it, as you always do. But what I want you to remember is that a vision independent of current circumstance is the most purest, the most highest, the most truest form of a vision that you could possibly have for yourself, because it means you want to create it for the love of it, not because you want to get away from something. You might want to rewind that and just hear that again. That's very, very important. Having the courage, again, that word courage, having the courage to hold a true vision is the ability to be able to perceive yourself in a reality that you currently do not see yourself having any business being in. It takes courage. So it's for you now to suspend logic in light of an authentic vision that is scary, exciting, and illogical all in equal measure. Number 3, observation. For the most part, we believe we are what we're thinking, feeling, and how we're behaving. So we're living life on autopilot. Your life so far has not randomly happened to you. You've happened to it. Therefore, you can change it. You've chosen it and you can change it. But in order to change it, you need to know what you've been choosing so far. The act of observing your thoughts and your emotions and your behaviors allows you to separate from them. And this then means you can see exactly why your life looks the way that it currently does. And this is when it's game on, because this can be incredibly jarring, but incredibly liberating. But don't be under the impression that the act of observing yourself is something easy and you can do that in 5 minutes and life will magically change. It won't. Because if it was easy, everybody in the world would be doing it and life would look very, very different. I've got a potent tool to share with you that can assist you during this part of the process of change. But I'm going to leave that process for a separate video because it deserves its own video. It's so powerful. So the more you start to observe and separate, the more you begin to unplug from who you used to be, from the life that you don't want to live. And you start freeing up space in order to redirect your focus towards the vision that you want to create in your life. So it's here when I encourage you to get very curious about your life. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? What are your behaviors? And as I said, this is a process that can be jarring but equally liberating, because very quickly you'll come to understand that you're not being victimized by a life that is randomly happening to you. Number 4, refocus. So now that you understand why your life looks the way that it presently does, and you can choose a different outcome, what next? Shifting focus. What you've been thinking, feeling, and how you've been behaving has created your current life. So now it's time for you to start considering the person that has already created the vision, the you in that vision. How do they think? How do they feel? What are their behaviors? And this is ultimately where you want your focus to be. Remember, as I've said, every moment is a choice. So you want to remain aware that when your old self is trying to get past you with those old thoughts and feelings and behaviors, and you know that they're not in alignment to the vision that you want to create, you want to be able to stop, observe, separate, and then refocus your mind towards the vision and the person already living in that vision. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? How are they behaving? Shifting focus is an art form. It's an art form because you are constantly having to remain awake. You're going to have to keep course correcting and reminding yourself who you are in the vision. Remember, you're not getting what you want. You're getting who you're being. So who are you being? Number 5, behavior. I find the final measure of whether you've changed or not is your behavior, because behavior does not lie. The words that people speak may lie, but behavior does not lie. So if you want to know the truth, observe your behavior. If your behaviors have not changed in light of your vision, that means that you have not changed. So you need to keep going. A few final thoughts. This isn't a technique or a quick fix. It's a change of lifestyle because it's a change of who you're being. And this process is challenging because it feels like who you once knew yourself to be is dying, and all you want to do is go back to the familiar self, even if that familiar self is miserable and you don't actually want to live there. But you will have to continue trusting the process, because what's the alternative? This is a really important point. When you're in the process of change, do not make the mistake of looking towards your external environment to validate if something is changing within or not. The only place you should be looking for validation is within yourself. If something feels like it's changing, it's shifting from within, the outside environment has no choice but to eventually catch up. But it's not your responsibility to be looking outwards and looking for change. Seek validation from here. Those that seek external validation will always bend to the environment, and change does not live there. So I urge you to remain steadfast and unwavering in your change. And you will shock yourself as to how much you changed in 30 days. How much more you feel like you moved from feeling trapped to feeling free. So, I'll see you on the other side.